This is Module 4, Learn 1, Part 1, Creating AI Interaction Partners, and I am Chris Stillwell. The learning objectives for this module are that by the time you finish, you will be able to explain the importance of interaction in language learning and list potential benefits of interacting with an AI chatbot. Also, you will be able to write a detailed prompt to create an AI chatbot that matches the objectives of a course and the needs of the students. So we're focusing on interaction. And the importance of interaction, well, it's something we should consider. Interaction is an essential component of language learning. When language learners interact, they gain opportunities to listen to appropriate input, to speak, and to negotiate meaning. In other words, they can communicate and they can make adjustments when there are misunderstandings. And they learn from those misunderstandings and those opportunities to try it in a different way. Until now, finding opportunities to engage in such interaction has posed a great challenge to many language learners. There is a possible solution, though, and that's AI chatbots. Some benefits of having conversations with AI are that it's a patient partner, right? You can make mistakes, you can take a long time, it doesn't matter, it's just going to sit and wait. It's available anytime. You don't have to worry about disturbing it. There's no need to feel embarrassed over mistakes. You're only talking to a computer. It's not really personal in that way. There's a great opportunity for learning through interaction. As we just mentioned, we can have those kinds of conversations and get all those benefits of conversation with AI. It's an opportunity for speaking practice, but since we are typing our responses, it's also an opportunity for writing practice. And by the way, we can do both. We can speak directly to the AI and listen, or we can type and read. Odd AI responses may indicate when the student needs to rephrase. So again, we get that benefit of if there's a problem in the conversation, that's actually good. It's a learning opportunity. We have the option to ask for explanations. We can always pause the conversation and ask the AI chatbot, what does that mean? Or can you say that in Vietnamese? We can ask for translations. We can ask for other kinds of help. We get an opportunity to learn new language in context. It's unpredictable where the conversation will go. Some new vocabulary and new things will come up, and we can learn things in those situations and more. So let's look a little more closely at what this may turn out to be, what it might look like. So here's an example. The AI says something like, hey there, I'm your host for a Halloween party here in OC, a Halloween shindig. Welcome to the party. Make yourself comfortable. What are you in the mood for this Halloween? This is something that I really tried with my students in California, actually. And so the students came up with a response to say they were in the mood for trick-or-treating. So my students were learning about the holiday of Halloween and learning about culture, and they were practicing a conversation with the AI chatbot. And after the students responded, then they got another response from the AI chatbot. Now, what's interesting here, in addition to the kind of normal conversation that we're having, it's kind of like a normal conversation, but of course we're talking to a chatbot. Something special here is we have this new superpower for learning. It's the ability to freeze a conversation. If you ever talk to someone in real life and have a conversation, you can't really stop it and talk about something else and then come back. It's hard to do, but it's very, very easy to do with AI. And I think it's a great opportunity for learning. Here's an example. So look, so the AI said something here. Let's go closer. Now, if we look more closely at the AI response here, we might notice some words here that are out of the ordinary, some words that we've never seen before. And we might have questions about them. When I ask my students, what words do you have questions about? They always say that it's these two here in this example. And so that's great. I can pause the conversation here and I can say, all right, well, what do you think? Can you make any guesses about that first word? The first word is kiddos. And maybe they've never seen that word before, but from the context of a cute costume that avoids frightening kiddos, well, that's a context of there's somebody that we don't want to scare. And then also we think about similar words. Kiddo looks like kids. So my students will guess that kiddos is probably another word for kids. And that's correct. And we can do a similar process with the word here at the end. And the point here is that we can pause, we can use other strategies, skills to figure things out from context or draw on other things that we know to make guesses, just as we might need to do in real life in a conversation. But in this case, we can pause the conversation, we can freeze it, and we can really relax and go deeper. So when we encounter words that are unfamiliar, we can easily pause the conversation and work it out. Now, this role play interaction did not happen naturally, but we had to give the AI instructions on how to behave. It doesn't just do this naturally. So what do you think? Could you create a prompt to make a role play scenario for language learning and tell the AI to be a good role play partner? Take a moment to think about how you might do that. What kind of instructions would you create? Maybe pause the video for a moment before you go to my answers. For role play with AI, I think we need to think about the roles in the situation first. Like, where are we? Who are the two participants? Usually it's just two in this kind of scenario. What are the participants trying to accomplish in this situation, right? Usually there's something that somebody wants, and they want the other person to maybe help them or give them answers to something. There's some kind of an objective. And by the way, it's not just an objective within the role play. We can also have learning objectives of things we want to learn. For example, what kind of language are we trying to practice? We should think about that when we create a role play for AI as well. In other words, what are our language learning objectives, right? What vocabulary, what grammar, what functions, etc., are we trying to use? So we think of all those things, and then we put that together. And if we want to role play with AI, then we have to think of other instructions as well. So what do you think? What other instructions do we need to give? First, we tell it the scenario, we tell it the needs of the participants, those things, the vocabulary to use, but we need to give more instructions to have a good AI partner. So take a look here. Here's what I used in this particular example. I began by saying something like, follow these rules, and I had a numbered list of rules for it to follow. And if you look more closely, the first rule was take turns. Do not give responses that are longer than 3 or 4 sentences. One thing you might notice about artificial intelligence is very often when you ask it for something, it will give you a very long response. And that's not really a conversation. In this case, we're trying to create a conversation between the student and the chatbot. So we have to give these instructions. Sometimes we have to say something that might be obvious to us. We have to communicate that clearly to the chatbot. Number 2, try to end each sentence with a question to keep the conversation going. Now, this is just probably a good idea, right? We want to make this a natural situation where the students feel compelled to keep going, or they feel interested to continue. And if the AI part of it is always ending with a question, that's going to help the students to participate. Another idea is we can tell the chatbot what kind of vocabulary. And say, try to use some of these expressions. And then maybe I give a list of vocabulary that we have been studying in class. And then we can use English suitable for CEFR level B1. Let me move that up. So we can always say in our prompt, we can always say what kind of language level we are looking at. And just to repeat that idea of don't get all carried away with talking, for 3 or 4 paragraphs. Keep it short. Wait for me to reply before continuing. This is a conversation. And then we can close our instructions with something like, if you understand these rules, then introduce yourself as the host of the party, welcome me in, and start a conversation about Halloween or whatever the scenario is, right? Maybe you had a different situation of someone is at a hotel and they're trying to book a room, or someone is at a restaurant and they're talking to the waiter about a problem with their food. Whatever it is, that's the last part of the instructions here. Okay. Now, in the next video, we're going to explore a little further of once we've designed an AI interaction for language learning, what comes next? Are the students ready to try it out? Or should we try it together as a class first? Or what might be some benefits of trying it together as a whole class first? Maybe that's a good idea, but why? And what are some techniques for engaging students in an AI role play demonstration? These are things we will talk about soon. Now, before I close, I want to share with you 2 things. One is these reflection questions, but I also want to tell you that in my example here of the role play, I was using Pi AI. That's pi.ai. If you look at the top here, you'll see it, pi.ai. And so that's a very good option for this kind of conversational interaction. But you can use other ones like Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini. There are many possibilities. Okay, so here I am. I'm back at the reflection questions to close this video. What are some of the benefits of interaction in language learning, and how can AI be a good option for this? I hope now that you've seen this video, you have some good answers for that question. Here's another one. How could you write a prompt to create an AI role play? What information would you need to provide? How would you ensure that the AI would be a good partner that engages the students in language learning? And one more, what does it mean to freeze an AI role play? What are some unique benefits of this? If you're not sure, please go back earlier in the video to find what I said about that. And this has been Module 4, Learn 1, Part 1, Creating AI Interaction Partners. And I am still Chris.